Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. Tragic what is happening out in Jasper, Alberta. Wildfire out of control. It has consumed anywhere from 30 to 60% of the town. We have the latest information from the Alberta government, Alberta Wildfire response teams, from the Premier, all of that coming up. The cleanup underway following all those protests because of Benjamin Netanyahu's visit. Not just because of his visit, because you have a lot of people out there who seem to hate their own country, and a lot of people from outside the country who hate America, Canada, Western society. And John Kirby, during today's White House briefing, coming right out and saying that some of the protests that took place, some aspects of the protests, have been funded, orchestrated, choreographed, fueled by Iran. We have that for you as well. Kamala Harris will have her reaction today, her statement after meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. I am at this moment rendering out some video, getting some video ready to share with you with regard to the wildfires out in Jasper. It is very close to being done, so let me finish that in the background, doing a little video production work while I produce the live portion of the program, doing this stuff on the fly for you tonight, getting you the most up-to-date information. Also, a giant trade war is a-brewing, and electric vehicles are at the center of it all. We'll have all that and more, and we will reveal tonight the title of tomorrow night's Maverick Midnight Matinee feature presentation. Stoic Teacher got it right. She guessed the correct title. She figured out what movie we're going to run tomorrow night, and I will tell you, I will reveal the top secret information later on in the broadcast. Stay with me. There's a whole lot of ground to cover tonight, and we'll get into it on the other side of this.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV,
the entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Going on and out in Alberta and Jasper. Unbelievable. Incredibly tragic. The premier of Alberta today, very emotional, holding back tears. Danielle Smith saying that, early reports, they still have to assess things, assess the damage out there, but she says that between a third and maybe even 60% of all the buildings, everything in the town of Jasper, in that historic town, that Rocky Mountain resort, that magical place, may have been destroyed. That's potentially over half the town gone because of this wildfire. So she says that they don't know exactly which structures have been damaged, which ones destroyed, but it's massive, a massive, massive disaster, absolute destruction. So we have some video here, some images, some moving pictures to share with you tonight, and we will go to Danielle Smith in a moment. But let me first off share this with you. We'll just do a little Twitter scroll, or X scroll, how about that, and just show you what social media is presenting tonight. So here's Jasper National Park. And this guy here, he in particular, kind of, I think, hitting the nail sort of on the head, saying that, Jasper National Park in his own backyard, his playground for the past 35 years. And he's not happy with the government. He's, like many people, saying that this has happened, not so much because of climate change in his view, but because of mismanagement by government over many years. The people who are presenting themselves as environmentalists don't want to do things like controlled burns, and as a result, they're not managing the forests properly. You're getting a lot of overgrowth and turning the whole place into a tinderbox, and the government has been warned about this over time. And now we have this on our... We have this. People evacuated. And, I mean... It really just leaves you speechless. And yes, the work of firefighters to be commended, but of course, it really is the responsibility of fire officials, of politicians, to prevent these kinds of things. And some of this, could have been prevented. It's not just one fire, it's a lot of fires. Some of it could have been managed better because the resource could be managed better in the view of many, including myself. I think that a lot of these environmentalists have adopted misguided views on the way to handle the environment. More images here of what's going on out in Jasper. You can see it's just swept into the town, and it's now consuming the community. The Premier saying that they will rebuild. The town has, the Albertans coming together, community spirit, resilience, people standing together, showing strength in the face of incredible adversity. Again, Western Canadians. Complete devastation. Officials today saying that the majority of these fires are likely caused by lightning. And of course, we also know that statistics have shown from past seasons that almost half are caused by human beings, sometimes through careless use of campfires or discarding cigarette butts, hot exhausts off automobiles, and in some cases, arson. Absolutely devastating. I think we have I think we're ready for Danielle Smith and officials in just a moment. Let me take a quick break while I get the feed queued up here. Stay with me. More to come.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, of course, everything made worse because we've had, hot, dry weather, and we've had, conditions just that contribute, weather conditions that contribute to these kinds of things. And today, officials saying that, again, lightning, the likely cause of many or most of these fires, if not all of the ones they're dealing with right now. They'll be investigated, of course, over time, but all the indications that they have right now is that lightning is the likely and main cause of this. So let's go out to Alberta with this is what Danielle Smith and officials from Alberta had to say just a short time ago. This is recorded. I've had to enhance the audio because the audio was so low coming from their video source, but this should do the trick.
We have all seen on the news and social media the horrific pictures and videos coming out of Jasper. Homes and businesses have been lost to a wildfire that people are calling a wall of flames. There is no denying that this is the worst nightmare for any community. To the residents of Jasper and those displaced far from home looking at the images of your town on TV and online, the feelings of loss and fear and loneliness must be overwhelming. But you are not alone. All Albertans are with you. For many generations, the town of Jasper and the parks surrounding it have been a source of pride. With some of the most beautiful scenery in the entire in the world. Our grandparents visited to experience the majesty of this place with its mountains and lakes and meadows. They took our parents, who then took us to this special spot that they'd spent time in as children. And now we take our own kids and our own loved ones and visitors from around the world to feel that same feeling that you get with your first glimpse of the mountains on the horizon. A feeling that even though you've just left home, you're coming home. And so although those of us who experience Jasper as visitors can't imagine what it feels like to be a Jasperite right now, we share this sense of loss with all of those who live in the town, who care for it, and who have helped build it. Jasper, we will continue to stand by you, and as everyone works to get their feet back under them, and as we look forward to recovery. Right now, the wildfire is still out of control, and crews are working in dangerous conditions to try and protect critical infrastructure in the town. So to the brave men and women currently on the ground in Jasper, I want to express my deep gratitude and the gratitude of all Albertans. Whether you are part of the initial efforts or whether you were activated and drove in there last night or early this morning, there really are not enough words to express our thanks and our wishes for your safety and your success. Once again, you've put yourselves on the front lines in a show of true heroism. Thank you for your bravery and your commitment to keeping Albertans safe. Well, I will leave the specific details on the situation and the efforts of those fighting it to Ministers Todd Loewen and Minister Mike Ellis, as well as to our Alberta wildfire officials here with us today, Stephen Lacroix from the Emergency Management Agency and Christy Tucker from Forest. Let me assure you that Alberta is doing all that we can. Our Emergency Management Cabinet Committee meeting has been meeting daily for the last several days, and will continue to do so. I have been in communication with the Federal Minister of Public Safety, Dominic LeBlanc. He's the Minister of Public Safety, Democratic Institutions and Intergovernmental Affairs. The Alberta Emergency Management Agency, Jasper Mayor Richard Ireland, and many others. I understand that Minister LeBlanc is being briefed as we speak, and I look forward to meeting with Minister Harjit Sajjan here in Edmonton later this afternoon, where he will join us at our command center. Alberta stands ready to assist in every way that we can, and I have asked Minister LeBlanc to move to a unified command structure so that Alberta can better help. We hope to hear a positive response from Parks Canada on this, and in the meantime, we will continue to provide any and all support that they request in any way that we can. I can tell you that Alberta Wildfire supported the Parks Canada Incident Management Team yesterday. They report that the situation on the ground overnight was extremely volatile. As we continue to battle the fire, our government will move to daily updates with Ministers Loewen and Ellis, as well as Alberta Wildfire officials. And we will continue with our daily written updates as well. To the residents, families, and business owners who call Jasper home, we will recover from this. To the men and women on the front line and at all operational levels, thank you for your courage and commitment. And to those in Alberta and around the world who have experienced the magic of Jasper, The magic is not lost, and it never will be. Alberta's government will provide the support needed to families and community to recover and to rebuild stronger than ever so that future generations can continue to experience this one-of-a-kind community and to feel the magic of being able to come home. Now, thank you, and I'll turn it over to Minister Ellis.
We'll stick with it for a moment longer. And if
Thank
you
Premier,
are,
and thank you for those heartfelt words.
if you have any information about these fires, if you're near these,
the
call
news
in.
that we're hearing out
We'll
of Jasper
talk with you.
is deeply saddening for all of us, especially for all the residents who call this beautiful part of the province home. And I want all of you to know that Alberta's government is here for you, and we are doing everything that we can to fight this fire, to save as much of Jasper as we can. Jasper holds a very special place in all of our hearts, as the Premier mentioned. We all have a memory of our first visit and being struck by the wonder of this awesome beauty of the surrounding natural landscape, which is why this fire and the destruction it has caused is so devastating for all of us. The municipality of Jasper and Parks Canada, as the unified command for this wildfire response, will be in the best position to provide details on the exact impacts of the town and the national park. Officials at all levels continue to work together to protect everything that we can and, of course, to support evacuees. I commend wildland firefighters who are working tirelessly to prevent the fire from reaching our town sites throughout Alberta. The Alberta Emergency Management Agency has helped the municipality request structural firefighters from Hinton, Edmonton, and 32 other municipalities, plus Lakeland College and industrial firefighters from across the province as it relates to Jasper. I assure you that we have made efforts to mobilize every resource available to bring relief and support to the community. The Provincial Emergency Coordination Centre is now at a level 4 activation to ensure full coordination across the provincial government. Our staff helped arrange staging grounds, meeting points, hotels for all those involved in the situation on the ground. And we continue to have field officers embedded within the local incident management team to help make connections between local authorities, first responders, government ministries, and municipal resources in other areas. I want to reiterate that Alberta Health Services and Emergency Medical Services safely evacuated patients from the area, including both acute care patients and designated support living residents. Patients and designated supporting living residents were transported to healthcare facilities in Edson and Hinton. 2 patients were flown to Prince George. We're also aware that the Seniors Lodge was evacuated separately. Alberta Health Services has contacted families of those impacted and will continue to provide information as needed. Reception centers for evacuees have been up and running in Grand Prairie, Calgary, Edmonton since Tuesday. Staff are working around the clock to provide mental health supports for all those impacted. Municipal emergency social services teams located at each reception center have been welcoming evacuees for the past few days. They're providing support for immediate basic needs with a focus on providing food and water, a place to stay, supports for physical and emotional well-being. I'd like to commend and thank the cities of Edmonton, Calgary, Grand Prairie for stepping up and accommodating their fellow Albertans at a time of need. And to all other municipalities who have stepped up to offer support in the firefighting effort, thank you. Thank you on behalf of all Albertans. Apart from the situation in Jasper, the Municipal District of Bighorn issued an evacuation order for the area east of Highway 40 and west of Ghost Public Land Access Point. The reception center continues to be open to evacuees in Water Valley Community Hall. An evacuation alert is also in effect for residents of the surrounding area, meaning that they should be prepared to evacuate with little notice. There are resources that can help people to get ready. That's at alberta.ca/be ready. On that webpage, the public can find everything from a list of items to pack, details on how to prepare your pets, your vehicles in the event of an evacuation. In addition to the areas I previously mentioned, evacuation orders are also remain in effect for Little Red River Cree Nation, including the communities of John Doerr Prairie, Fox Lake, and Garden River. The Municipal District of Opportunities evacuation order of Chippewa Lake is also still in place. The evacuation order for Janvier 194, part of the Chippewa Prairie First Nation, and the evacuation alert for the hamlet of Janvier were both lifted by the local authorities this morning after some helpful rainfall. We continue to ask residents in all affected communities to listen to local officials, follow any evacuation orders and instructions that you may receive. Follow the Alberta Emergency Alert app and website, your local municipality for evacuation information and available services. Alberta 511 also provides an up-to-date information on highway closures and conditions. The estimated number of evacuees province-wide remains at more than 17,500. This number is still limited to people who are displaced from their residence or who need supports. While there were an estimated 25,000 people in the Jasper National Park at the time of the evacuation order, the vast majority of these people were visitors with other places to return to. I'll reiterate that to those under an evacuation order to please register online as an evacuee at emergencyregistration.alberta.ca. Doing so will help access resources and important information like updates and reentry plans. Individuals who are a part of a mandatory evacuation order exceeding a minimum of 7 days, including temporary foreign workers, are eligible to receive a one-time payment of $1,250 for each adult and an additional $500 for each child under the age of 18. Residents of the following communities can apply for emergency evacuation payments: the Garden River community within Little Red River Cree Nation, Janvier 194, which is part of the Chippewa Prairie First Nation, and Chippewa Lake. We are ever and forever grateful for the work of wildfire personnel, local authorities, and emergency officials. Our thoughts are, of course, with the families and the businesses and workers who are wrestling with the thoughts of their own homes and livelihoods and their sense of security. But in times like these, we invariably witness an unwavering spirit of community, and that's what we've seen here in Alberta. The bravery of our firefighters, the dedication of the first responders, emergency management personnel, and the compassion of EMTs and social support workers is truly inspirational. I understand that many Albertans are facing an extremely trying time at present. Know this, your fellow Albertans are with you. Alberta's government is here for you, along with our various interagency partners. We will continue to work diligently to support you, protect your communities. And I thank you, and I'd like to now invite Minister Lowen to make a few comments. Thank you.
Okay, and we're going to come back to that in just a moment, but we have our first caller on the line. Who do we have on the line right now? Are you still there? Hello?
Hello?
There you are. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. You're live on the air. Introduce yourself.
I'm Lady Jane. I'm named after a very famous weed.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to tell you, I'm the creator of Poets Market on the chat line. So I apologize if I've been rude to anybody, but I'm locked out of my channel, totally blocked. I got hacked.
Okay.
But I am the creator of Poets Market.
Okay. Are you calling in because of the wildfires tonight?
Well, kind of in a way, but I just called in because I've been offline and I really can't give much of an opinion on Chatline right now. And I just thought I'd just call in and say, you know, I haven't died in any fires, so I'm still here. I have been locked out, and I'm trying to get rid of this bug on my fucking computer.
Okay, so, well, I appreciate that. Thanks for calling in, and
okay,
and we'll talk to you again later.
Okay, bye.
Thanks. We'll go back to the feed here. Hang on, here we go.
Thank you very much, Minister Ellis, and thanks everyone for being here for this morning's wildfire update. Yesterday marked a truly heartbreaking day in our province's history, as late Wednesday afternoon, the wildfire in Jasper National Park made contact with Jasper town site. The images we're seeing out of Jasper are devastating, and my heart goes out to the community. Words of any kind seem insufficient right now, but to the people of Jasper, I'm incredibly sorry for your loss. I'd also like to say that we're grateful to community members and visitors for following local alerts and evacuating when they did. While the pain of what's occurring right now is overwhelming, we can all be grateful that residents and visitors are safe. We're thankful, too, for everything our brave firefighters and emergency responders did to try to battle the fire. We know without these firefighters, things could have been even worse. This wildfire is under the command of Parks Canada, and we are assisting them with all available assets and have offered up any help that they require. Alberta's government will continue to lend support to firefighting operations in the region. So far, we've sent firefighters, support personnel, water trucks, a dozer group, helicopters, and air tankers to assist with response on the Jasper wildfire. Alberta's government is also sending an incident management team to help assess the situation, and we have personnel and resources standing by to help as needed. I'd also like to thank our federal partners for responding as quickly as they did to our urgent request for help from the Canadian Armed Forces. We're currently strategizing the best way to utilize these firefighting resources. Alberta once again finds itself in a difficult and dangerous situation due to wildfires. Heightened wildfire danger and activity have taken their toll on the well-being of countless Albertans and communities, and danger levels look like they'll remain high in many areas for the foreseeable future. Alberta currently has over 170 active wildfires burning throughout the province, with more than 50 of these classified as out of control. Many of the wildfires we're seeing at this time of the year are lightning caused, and we unfortunately can't control the weather. But what we can do as a province is exercise extreme caution. Now more than ever, make sure you follow all local advisories and restrictions. While it may not always feel like it, our actions and choices as Albertans play a crucial role in keeping our province safe. Preventing further human-caused wildfires and doing what we can to support our emergency responders will allow them to do their jobs more effectively. Before I hand things over to Christy Tucker, I want to say once again how incredibly grateful we are for the work of all wildfire personnel, local authorities, and emergency officials who are battling wildfires across the province to keep Albertans safe. Thank you as well to our provincial, federal, and international partners who did not hesitate to send their highly experienced and trained wildland firefighters to support our hardworking Alberta personnel. The situation unfolding in Jasper is gut-wrenching. Nothing will change that. But to the residents of Jasper, know that Alberta is with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. There are 176 wildfires burning in the forest protection area of Alberta. 54 of those are out of control, 50 are being held, and 69 are under control. Rain in the northern half of the province has reduced some of the wildfire danger that we've seen there over the past week, but the danger remains extreme in the northeast and the south of the province. There's still smoke in the air, which may cause concerns for people around air quality. For information about the air in your area, you can visit wildfire smoke information on alberta.ca. We've seen this week the effect that strong winds can have on the intensity and spread of a wildfire. We're expecting more of those winds in the province today, which will raise the fire danger for those areas particularly that didn't get much rain. As others have said, we're grateful to the nearly 1,900 Alberta firefighters, contractors, and support staff who have been working hard in heat and difficult conditions this wildfire season. We're also grateful to the Australians who arrived this weekend, and we'll be welcoming at least 400 additional firefighters from overseas in the coming days. 100 firefighters from Jalisco, Mexico will arrive today. 200 from South Africa will be here tomorrow, and another 100 from Australia and New Zealand are expected Sunday and Monday. In addition, we welcome any assistance offered from the Canadian Armed Forces. These resources will be sent around the province to areas where they will be most effective in the wildfire response. Alberta Wildfire has been actively supporting Parks Canada in their response to the wildfires in Jasper. As the Minister mentioned, we provided water trucks, heavy equipment, helicopters, unit crews, and offered air tanker and night vision equipped helicopter support. We've also helped with wildfire intelligence and in assisting the relocation of the incident management team in Jasper. This is a high priority wildfire, and we have aircraft, firefighters, and more support staff standing by to help. An incident management team is mobilizing today and tomorrow in order to support that response. The loss in Jasper is felt by everyone in the Wildfire family, as it is by all Albertans. But we know we have a job to do, and our firefighters and support staff will be out there doing it today and for the rest of the season, whatever it brings. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now enter the media Q&A portion. We'll start off here with questions in the room before going over to the phones. There's just a microphone in the middle of the room here.
Okay, we'll just pull out of that for the moment. And yeah, if you have something useful to say and you want to comment on the wildfire situation out in Western Canada, in particular out in Jasper, you can call 519-401-1373. I'll run the promo. If you have something of value to contribute tonight, that's the number to call. Let me find the promo here. Haven't run that in a while. There it is right there. I'll run the promo with the phone number. And again, if you have something of value to contribute to the conversation, here's how you can join the conversation. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. One 519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. And there is more video, more images. We have more of this feed off X. Let's take a look at some of these images. That is just unbelievable. The buildings, the cars, the infrastructure. Nothing left. Wow. Very, very sad. Here's what was going on with people fleeing, evacuating. Huge lineups, traffic getting out of the path of the flames. Devastating stuff. And, you know, they've got a serious wildfire problem in California as well. And tonight, I believe we have it here. Yes, here it is here. A man has been arrested in connection with like this big California wildfire that has burned more than 71,000 acres. And in fact, we have this from ABC News that I can bring up to help explain that story, let me show you what they're reporting on the U.S. side tonight. They have a problem over there too.
ABC's chief. And a massive wildfires prompting evacuations in Northern California. The park fires burning near Chico. So far, the fires scorched more than 6,000 acres. Smoke from the fire and several others in the region has also triggered air quality concerns. ABC's chief meteorologist Ginger Z is there in California. Ginger, let's start with that wildfire in Northern California near Chico. What's the latest on that?
Yes, and actually that number has skyrocketed. As of 3 p.m. yesterday, it was around 6,500 acres. Now, more than 45,000 acres, Diane. And so it is just exploding in size, and it's only 3% contained. There are definitely evacuations. We've seen some chatter about people that were stuck potentially in cars. We've got this video here that really showcases how quickly it's burning. I mean, you'd have to burn some 2,000 acres per hour in that time to achieve the numbers it has. And watch this video where you see that propane tank likely next to a home explode. And so there's a lot of threats happening at this moment, and we're going to be, of course, watching not just the park fire, but there are 88 large active wildfires across the American West. So the smoke, yes, going to be a problem, not just there in Chico in Northern California, but Boise, Idaho had some really difficult air quality. And this is the kind that makes it to the surface and makes it difficult for people, especially that have any sensitivities to it, but for everybody else too. It's that thick.
And they are getting smoke from fires in Canada down into the U.S. as well. And a 48-year-old arson suspect linked to starting a fire in the area of the Park Fire in Butte County, near the city of Chico, has been arrested. And he is in jail without bail at the moment. The district attorney there, Mike Ramsey, has not yet released the suspect's name. He was allegedly spotted just around 3 p.m. local time on Wednesday, and then was arrested and taken into custody, I guess, after that. The car, there was, he was pushing a car that was on fire down a gully called Alligator Hole near the town. It went down this embankment and then burned completely, and then the flames from that spread, causing all of this devastation in that area. So here, I'll bring this back up because there are more images here from that fire in California. And of course, people in Jasper, distraught, complete devastation. About probably half the town, maybe as much as 60% of the town, estimated at this point, destroyed. Town of Jasper, Alberta, tonight. Stay with me. We've got more of today's top stories on the other side of this.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
And yeah, if you donated and you're waiting for one of those shirts, we are getting them produced. So it's just taking a little bit of time, and I am behind on sending out some of the orders for shirts. So please bear with me. I appreciate your patience. I'm just waiting for some inventory to come back in because we just have very, I don't have 1,000 of these things produced, and we ran out of a couple of sizes because I just didn't have a lot ever to begin with in stock. So anyway, working on all of that stuff. But thank you so much for the support, and it won't be long in coming. We had to get a minimum number of orders for these Trump shirts, and we're almost there. But regardless, the production will commence. It is commenced, has commenced. It is on underway. So again, thank you for persevering. We'll get those out to everybody. And yeah, Stoic Teacher. We're going to talk about you because you got the answer right. What movie are we going to be running tomorrow night? That was the quiz. That was the $1 million question, or $64,000 question. Whatever. Here's Justin Trudeau. Let's go back to the wildfire situation. This is what this is his response so far. Posting on social media. On X, formerly known as Twitter. He says, just convened an incident response group meeting on the Alberta wildfires. Every federal agency is coordinated, sending resources to Jasper, deploying evacuations, support to the area, and reinforcing firefighting efforts on the ground. And then some responses. Unacceptable Jeff saying Jasper would still be here if Justin Trudeau wasn't Prime Minister. And Anti-Taxer says, you're so awful at your job, just go away forever. And more footage available here out of Chico, California. Amazing footage. Share some of this with you. Here we go. Devastation down there too. Another summer of fires. I don't think this summer has been as bad as last summer, which was just unbelievable. Yes, last summer was worse. We even had smoke all the way down here in southern Ontario. They had it in smoke from the Canadian wildfires as far as New York. Not that bad this year, but still a bad season. And of course, what's going on in Jasper right now? Just tragic. And this Chico, California. Okay. Now, the cleanup has commenced in the U.S. and the Capitol, sort of, after all of the protests there yesterday. And I'll tell you, as I said yesterday, I would have had my fill, honestly, with the protesters who are not really protesting there. They've crossed the line, engaging in vandalism. I've just kind of had it. But more going on in the streets out there. And today, Benjamin Netanyahu did meet with Biden and Harris, apparently. Did he meet with Biden? I believe he did. Yes, Biden and Harris met with him. Yes, I did confirm that. And we've got this now from Kamala Harris. Sorry, I'm just having a little trouble queuing this. Okay, here we go. So here's Kamala Harris. She just met with Benjamin Netanyahu. And here she is, kind of filling the president's shoes already. The VP and wannabe president taking on the task of addressing the public, addressing the nation, addressing the media after meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu today.
So I just had a frank and constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I told him that I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. From when I was a young girl, collecting funds to plant trees for Israel, to my time in the United States Senate and now at the White House, I have had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel. I've said it many times, but it bears repeating. Israel has a right to defend itself, and how it does so matters. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization. On October 7, Hamas triggered this war when it massacred 1,200 innocent people, including 44 Americans. Hamas has committed horrific acts of sexual violence and took 250 hostages. There are American citizens who remain captive in Gaza. Sagi Deko Hen, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, Idan Alexander, Keith Siegel, Omer Nutra, and the remains of American citizens Judy Weinstein, Gad Haggai, and Itai Hen are still being held in Gaza. I have met with the families of these American hostages multiple times now, and I've told them each time they are not alone, and I stand with them. And President Biden and I are working every day to bring them home. I also expressed with the Prime Minister my serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians. And I made clear my serious concern about the dire humanitarian situation there, with over 2 million people facing high levels of food insecurity, and 500,000 people facing catastrophic levels of acute food insecurity. What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. Thanks to the leadership of our President, Joe Biden, there is a deal on the table for a ceasefire and a hostage deal. And it is important that we recall what the deal involves. The first phase of the deal would bring about a full ceasefire, including a withdrawal of the Israeli military from population centers in Gaza. In the second phase, the Israeli military would withdraw from Gaza entirely, and it would lead to a permanent end to the hostilities. It is time for this war to end, and end in a way where Israel is secure, all the hostages are released, the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can exercise their right to freedom, dignity, and self-determination. There has been hopeful movement in the talks to secure an agreement on this deal. And as I just told Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is time to get this deal done. So to everyone who has been calling for a ceasefire, and to everyone who yearns for peace, I see you and I hear you. Let's get the deal done so we can get a ceasefire to end the war. Let's bring the hostages home, and let's provide much-needed relief to the Palestinian people. And ultimately, I remain committed to a path forward that can lead to a two-state solution. And I know right now it is hard to conceive of that prospect, but a two-state solution is the only path that ensures Israel remains a secure, Jewish, and democratic state, and one that ensures Palestinians can finally realize the freedom, security, and prosperity that they rightly deserve. And I will close with this then. It is important for the American people to remember the war in Gaza is not a binary issue. However, too often the conversation is binary, when the reality is anything but. So I ask my fellow Americans to help encourage efforts to acknowledge the complexity, the nuance, and the history of the region. Let us all condemn terrorism and violence. Let us all do what we can to prevent the suffering of innocent civilians, and let us condemn anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate of any kind. And let us work to unite our country. I thank you.
And we will leave that there. I can tell you, too, that some people are following the money. And in fact, I was told today I should follow the money. Yeah, well, I have followed the money, and other people are following the money. And as a result, this video has been enhanced with some graphics by some people who are doing just that, following the money all the way back to unions who seem to be helping to coordinate these protests.
The Association of Flight Attendants, the American Postal Workers Union, the International Union of Painters, the National Education Association, the Service Employees International Union, the United Auto Workers, and the United Electrical Workers.
Previously, I told you there were 4 intersections that have been blockaded by the people for Palestine. Now it's 5. Pennsylvania and 9, Independence and 14. North Carolina and Pennsylvania Southeast, Independence and 4th, and Union Station have all been claimed by the people. Constitution is effectively shut down by our presence here alone from 11th here.
That was interesting. Yeah, they burned the flag. John Kirby, White House press conference today, coming out, addressing some of this, and saying some of this has been choreographed, supported, fueled, promoted by Iran. Here he is.
John, we heard from the Vice President earlier with comments, strong comments related to the vandalism and the protests that we saw yesterday. We haven't heard yet from the President or from the White House at large. Do you condemn what you saw yesterday? How do you characterize the protests, including what we saw at Union Station?
Well, we did put out a statement last night from the White House, but absolutely condemn any violence in protest activity. I mean, it's a First Amendment right to peacefully protest. We fully support that. We know that there are strong views about what's going on in Gaza. And some of those views are in opposition to some of the policies that we're pursuing. We get it. That's democracy. But when it turns violent, and when you burn an American flag and pull it down off a U.S. government site, that's just absolutely unacceptable. And obviously we condemn all that.
Are these protests pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, anti-Israel? How do you characterize what we're seeing?
I think it's a little bit of all those things. I mean, I can't speak for the protesters. Obviously, I don't share their views. But obviously they took great exception to the Prime Minister speaking on Capitol Hill. And as I said, many of them have taken exception with our policies with respect to Gaza.
Today we heard from one of the family members who's going to be meeting with both the Prime Minister and the President a short time from now, Aviva Siegel. She was a former hostage of Hamas. She says, I want to ask President Biden if Bibi is not able or willing to agree to the ceasefire and hostage deal to bring the Americans home. Is there anything more that President Biden is prepared to do unilaterally to try to bring those hostages home?
I wouldn't get into hypothesizing and speculating about options one way or the other. We want to get all the hostages home, clearly the Americans in particular. And that's why this deal is so important, Peter. And we are close. We are closer now, we believe, than we've been before. The gaps are closable, no question about that. And we believe, the President believes, that getting that hostage deal in place, getting that 6-week ceasefire, that's the best way to get all these loved ones back with their families.
Thank you, Kareem. Thanks, John. Did the U.S. find any of Netanyahu's remarks yesterday to be false or misleading?
I'm not going to parse everything he said or do a fact check here from this podium. He should speak for himself about what his views are.
He should, but he had a powerful stage, a joint address before Congress. Do you agree with assertions that Iran financially backs some of the protesters? That if there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it, as 2 examples?
So on the first example, we've said ourselves, the Director of National Intelligence came out publicly and said that we do know that Iran has been funding and encouraging some of the protest activity here in the United States. Some of it. We do not believe that all the protest activity out there on a daily basis is being fully funded by Iran. There's a lot of organic concern out there in the American people about what's going on in the Middle East, and most of these protests are formed and fashioned in that regard. On the second question, there has been a steady increase of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza. The problem isn't getting it to Gaza right now. The problem is getting it around Gaza. And one of the reasons why it's so dang difficult to move things around inside Gaza is because there's a war going on and bombs are dropping. And regrettably, in the conduct of some of their recent operations, the Israeli military has, in fact, not on purpose. We have no reason to believe they did this deliberately, but there has been accidental strikes on some of the trucks and the convoys that have been moving around. So it's not one or the other. There's a lot of reasons why it's not moving around, and some of that is, of course, the military activity of the Israelis inside Gaza.
And then, now that the vice president is the likely Democratic nominee, has she communicated with the president whether a Harris administration's Israel policy would be the same or different as his?
You would have to talk to the vice president's office and the campaign for that. I would just, before we leave that though, just want to remind, she's been a full partner in our policies in the Middle East, particularly with our policies towards Israel and the war in Gaza, a full partner, been involved in nearly every conversation that the president has had with the prime minister, and very much engaged throughout.
Okay, before I get to my questions, guys, a quick follow-up on that. Can you explain to the American people who might think it just looks odd that she is having her own private meeting with the prime minister separate from the president that suggests that they aren't speaking with one voice?
I reckon if she was here, she'd be in the room right now, but she's not physically here. There's nothing unusual about that. And Vice President has, and I fully expect over the next 6 months will continue to have meetings of her own with foreign leaders. She's met privately with President Zelensky as well and others.
It was 20 days ago that the administration first said that they were really optimistic about finding, really closing the deal. Has nothing changed in 20 days? Is that still where we are?
I wouldn't say nothing's changed.
What are the remaining gaps? What are the sticking points?
Yeah, I'm not going to negotiate in public. I wouldn't say nothing's changed. I mean, there's the last 20 days that you talk about, and we've been working really, really hard to try to get those gaps closed. There's still more work to be done. But we believe, as I said earlier, we're closer now than we've been before, and we think it's absolutely achievable to get this over the finish line.
Just sort of following up on what you just point, there's one other thing that the Prime Minister said yesterday that's getting a lot of attention is that the conflict has had one of the lowest ratios of combatant to non-combatant casualties in the history of urban warfare. Obviously, our own State Department has found it reasonable to assess that the Israelis' actions at times have been inconsistent with international law. So who is correct here? And is the United States comfortable with the ratio of deaths between
Again,
combatants?
I'm not going to go line by line through the Prime Minister's speech and debate it here from the White House podium. He should speak for his comments. He should speak for his views. What I can do is speak for ours. And the right number of civilian casualties is 0. And there has been too many civilian casualties in this fighting in Gaza. And as I just indicated in my previous answer, there continue to be civilian casualties in this war in Gaza. There continues to be desperate need for food, water, medicine, because it's a combat zone in many places. And we need to bring the war to an end. And one of the principal things that the president's going to talk to the Prime Minister about today is how we get there. How do we end this war? And the best way, in his view, is to get this deal in place. Get a 6-week ceasefire. Get phase 1 going so you negotiate to phase 2, get a cessation of hostilities, and more critically, get those hostages home.
Good, Dan.
Thanks, Karine. Thanks, Admiral.
Okay. That is enough of that. Let's go live now with Dragon up in Montreal. What's going on, sir?
Well, actually, I was listening, as you know, and you were speaking about the union, right?
Yes.
Union being involved into the pro-Palestinian protest. Well,
that's the allegation that was put forth in that video. Yeah.
Yeah, but if I ask my co-pilot from Bing, which is my trusty tool on Bing to check out for news and stuff like that, and I ask, is McGill University Union were involved into the pro-Palestinian encampment in Montreal? And co-pilot comes back with the answer that yes, members of McGill University community, including student, possibly union members, were involved in the pro-Palestinian encampment on the university downtown Montreal campus. The encampment, blah, 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 was dismantled on July 10. So, yeah, if we go according to the trustee Bing companion, there's probably some union member from the university that was part in the pro-Palestinian.
No, I wouldn't doubt it. The unions are on the left side of the political spectrum. We've seen them come out against freedom protesters. They were active with the Antifa groups here in Canada last year when there was a Zoom meeting with a bunch of union leaders and who were participating in counter-protest activities, organizing that with, the organizational Zoom meeting was leaked to the public. We ran some of that here on this program a year ago when they were protesting the Save the Children National Day of Protest and Marching that took place across Canada. A massive turnout for that last year, and it was unions who were trying to organize the counter-protest in conjunction with these other activist groups. And I've said right here before, a lot of the same people are the ones who are involved in these encampments on university campuses, have been, and it's the same thing going on that we've seen going on in the Capitol there in the U.S. as well. No doubt about it. Yeah. And you just provided additional evidence of that by just doing a simple search on Bing using, what is it, Bing Copilot that you use?
Yep.
Yeah. And that, of course, is drawing information from what would be considered credible sources. So
this is one tool that I use to fetch a little something before, talking out loud without having the confirmation of something or someone.
Yeah, I mean, unions have just a long history of, being involved in social protest like this. And we've also seen, historically, these unions coming out on this particular side of the of this discussion and debate. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, but what can I say, man? They burned the flag. They burned the American flag. They took it off the flagpole and ran a Palestinian flag up, in the nation's capital. They captured the American flag yesterday and then burned it.
And some of them are American, pure American. Sorry to say, I'm not making any racist statement here, but just to give you an idea, there are pure American, or like us, Canadian, that will do those things, and I will probably take back what Brendan said yesterday, which was a beautiful analogy or a beautiful observation, is that cultural appropriation in a way. I mean, but that's another story. But yesterday I showed you yesterday there were a little bit of protesting in front of one of the bank, but Bing doesn't tell me if there's something else that happened. So I mean, I don't know about what was really the thing yesterday with them. Probably that what I would think, and from what I see, is that when something happened somewhere, when they are gathering in one part of the world, they will all gather somewhere. Do some disturbance.
No question. This stuff is, it's not entirely organic. A lot of this stuff is coordinated, planned. It absolutely is.
It's like if today I say, hey, Rick, I'm going out and go on a whatever speech on the street while, I mean, between this time and this time, I go on the street and say my stuff, and you do the same on your part of the world, and everyone does the same at the same time on their little part of the world. So basically, it is
it's
a kind of a operation.
Yep.
It's an operation.
It is, and they coordinate these things even globally. They have these political activist groups. This is, it's generally people on the far left who do these kinds of protests. And what they did here yesterday, by defacing the Freedom Bell, which is a replica of the Liberty Bell, right? And then and this monument, spray painting it. This is unacceptable. Taking down the American flag, capturing it, burning it. They don't believe in freedom. If people here think that this leads to freedom, you are quite mistaken. This is the absolute opposite of freedom. This is an assault on freedom, and this actually has my blood boiling. I'm editorializing, but that is the basis for this entire channel. For everything we do here at Maverick News. It's about freedom of speech, freedom of media, freedom in general. This is a freedom channel. And what this is an assault on a replica of the Liberty Bell. It's called the Freedom Bell. And they've defaced it. And then, they just have no respect, because they have no regard for freedom. These people are not about freedom. They sit and whine and complain if their free speech is hindered in any way. But then they turn around and conduct a direct assault on freedom, because they hate America. They hate freedom. They absolutely do. And that's why Kamala Harris, quite right to come out and say that these protesters, she didn't say it in the address that she just gave here, but she came out earlier and said that these protesters are unpatriotic. And I agree with her.
I do. Actually, I don't agree much with Kamala Harris or the Democrat Party in America, but I'm agreeing with this statement that it is unpatriotic and it shouldn't be. And just for the people that doesn't know, Freedom Bell commemorate the spirit of freedom and anti-communism.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, you're destroying this beautiful part of history and a memoriam against anti-communism.
And
this way.
And I have to agree with Kamala Harris, what she just said. It's not a binary issue. Anybody that's out there thinking that this is just about the children in Gaza, that is not what is going on in the capital right now. That is not what's going on your streets in Montreal, Dragon. This is political. It's not just the social side of people being killed. And I would, I'm reserving judgment on everything going on in Gaza because of all the propaganda. Obviously, people are dying. Obviously, it's tragic. Obviously, it needs to stop. I'm waiting for real information to come out before I provide any kind of real assessment of what is going on there. But this is not just about Gaza. Gaza was the catalyst for a much broader global disruption, the catalyst for what they're hoping will be a global communo-fascistic revolution. It is the global intifada. That's what's underway. That's what's happening on the campuses. That's what's happening in the Capitol. That's what's going on the streets. It is a form of warfare. It's not just protests. It's gone beyond protests. It's vandalism. At times it is turning violent, and it is going too far. And now they've defaced the Freedom Bell, replica of the Liberty Bell. They're defacing these monuments. They're tearing down our history, their own history. These are not Palestinians. These are political activists who are exploiting what's going on in Gaza. They're exploiting the victims in Gaza. They're exploiting the dead children in Gaza by using them as martyrs, by using them to further their political goals, which is what I said in the very beginning, that Hamas is also doing the same thing. October 7th put these civilians in harm's way because they knew Israel would react in this way. And I condemned Israel for doing it too, because they are engaging in the wrong kind of activity. It was a trap, and they've fallen into it. So they've lost the support of the public worldwide because of their reaction to what happened on October 7th. It's dark, it's sinful on both sides. I don't pretend to sit here and have the solution to the problem that has been a problem for not just decades, but thousands of years. But for crying out loud, it's got to stop here. It's got to stop. This has gone too far. That's me editorializing. But I've had it up to my eyeballs. We're about freedom. These people are not about freedom. These people are about the opposite of freedom, and they're sucking some people right into the abyss with them by duping them, by saying that, by they're twisting words, twisting definitions, redefining things, rewriting our history.
Mm-hmm. And you're totally right in a way, because if you were to be pro-freedom this much, you wouldn't turn down a pro-free speech journalist in the making, if you will, even if he's a noob in that career. I mean, you would listen to the guy and probably have a conversation with the guy, just to see what you got to say.
Yeah. And as much as I don't agree with the approach that Israel is taking in Gaza, I have to acknowledge that the assault on America, the assault on Canada, the assault on Western society is not coming from Israel. It's coming from the other side, which is Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran. It absolutely is. We have to, and if that's what you want, just, you can have your opinion, but that's not freedom. That is authoritarianism. That's collectivism. That's communism. And it is actually also fascism. It's communofascism. It's the convergence of these things. The old labels don't really quite apply anymore. They've come together. They're coming together, the extreme left and the extreme right. And that is what we're seeing in the streets. And it's all being promoted, facilitated, funded even by unions, foreign governments. And you just heard John Kirby talk about that. They know, they have intelligence. Then he's just acknowledging that from the podium today at the White House. This is coming from, not all of it, but some of it from Iran, some of it from unions, some of it from other governments, some of it from political activist groups. And I'll tell you this, as much as Kamala Harris is sitting there saying some of the things that I agree with here, she's a Democrat, and a lot of this is coming from her own party. And then it's also coming from the libertarians. It's coming from people who pretend to be libertarians, who are in with them, anarchists, communists, like real communists.
Well, it's money dump kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just very disruptive. It's chaotic is what it is. And
take an example of what happened with the Contra. I don't remember when the Contra was, but I think it was around Cuba, right?
The Iran Contra deal, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was in the Reagan era.
The U.S. Decreed, well, I think it was the Congress that did decreed that they couldn't give any money to the Contra cause.
Yeah.
So what they have done is that they have sold some weapon to Israel, if I'm not mistaken, and the money that Israel was sending was back to the contract. So basically, it was a hush-wash money kind of thing.
Yeah, they were funneling money through Central America and activities down there so that they could get the weapons and things.
But don't get my word on the Israel thing. I'm not sure, but I think it was Israel.
Yeah, it was they were doing things in a roundabout way that wasn't really proper, and that was the Iran-Contra scandal. But we can dig into that another night if we need to. That was back in the 1980s. The analogy is similar. No, I wouldn't say it's similar at all. Not really. It was a different kind of story, totally different scenario altogether.
The way that the money comes from one pocket to the other.
Nope. Totally different story, Dragon. Different scenario. Right. No, we can discuss it another night. It was not cool, and Oliver North had to testify, and there was all of that stuff that happened. But I'm old enough to remember it. I remember that was a totally different kind of deal. Trust me on this. It's not an area for comparison.
All right.
Yeah, it's not a good thing, but it was different. Anyway, we can dig into that another night. Anything else you want to share with us this evening before we sign off, sir?
No, that was basically the comment I wanted to do about the union being part of the McGill University encampment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I know, and a lot of people have the best of intentions. They think they're out there protesting because, I guess, they just want to show that they're upset about kids being killed. I get it. I totally get that. I have no beef, I have no beef with anybody that just is upset about children being killed. I'm with you. Okay, but don't be a useful idiot. That's not what these protests are really about. They're out there burning the American flag. That doesn't save any children's lives. That honestly is misguided. It's an assault on freedom. And I'll tell you right now, you're talking about free Palestine while you're burning the American flag and defacing the freedom bell. No, what they need in Gaza is a whole lot more freedom. That's what they need. Freedom from authoritarian political organizations, freedom from groups like that. That's what they need. More than anything, they need that now. And this is not going to get them there. This is going to get us all a lot more authoritarianism and a lot less freedom. People need to really, you got to wake up. No, yeah, they got to wake up. They really do. They are so misguided. They know not what they do. They really don't. Anyway, Dragon, thank you so much for calling in.
My pleasure, sir. Okay. And Mavericks, have a good night.
Okay. More to come. Don't go away.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Yesterday, video surfaced of Elon Musk walking in the Capitol. He was on his way to listen to Netanyahu's speech. He was there as a guest of Netanyahu, and he was asked about the reports of him donating $45 million per month to the Trump campaign. As he was walking, he said, and I had to listen to it a couple of times, but he said that was the creation. It was a lie created by, I believe he said, the Wall Street Journal. I did hear Trump in his speech. I don't think it was during the RNC address. I think it was before the guy took the shots at him in Pennsylvania. Anyway, he was talking about Musk donating $45 million per month. Musk now saying that's not true, that it's a complete fabrication. And now here's Trump tonight in an interview on Fox News talking about this. Let's listen. I haven't heard the entire clip on this, but I'm interested to know what Donald Trump has to say about this now. Is he really getting $45 million per month from Elon Musk, or is it fake news?
I have a good relationship with him. I think he's a nice guy. I disagree with the electric cars for everybody. I think people should have, and I'm very much against that. It's ridiculous, actually. You want a gasoline-propelled car, or you want maybe a hybrid. You want to have a choice, and that includes electric. But no, Elon and I have a very good relationship. As you know, he endorsed me very strongly. Somebody told me he was going to give me $45 million a month. I said, that sounds like a lot. And even for Elon, that's a lot. But he was going to give me $45 million. There was a reporter that wrote it. Right. He never told me he was giving me $45, but he did say, I strongly endorse you, despite the fact that I'm against the electric car mandate.
You know, the irony is 4 years ago and 8 years ago, social media was on the other guy's side. And here you've got
a good.
Okay, so that clarifies things a bit. So Trump being misled, I guess, by some fake news that was out there about the $45 million per month. You'd think that with that amount of money coming in, a candidate would know, right? But especially when, because of that, I saw some of these live streamers who also hate America going on and on about how this shows you why the system is so corrupt because obviously Elon Musk is just controlling Trump with the 45 million a month. I saw somebody go on for a half an hour about it when that came out. And then Trump's like, I guess he's giving me 45 million a month in his speech. And now the whole thing turns out it's not even true. The whole thing is not true. So, who knows what the hell to believe anymore? Even the candidate is duped. The candidate who thought he was getting 45 million a month, maybe it's because they get so much money coming in, he can't keep track of it all. Even when somebody's giving you $45 million a month, it's kind of like, I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Somebody said he was, but I got so much money that I don't know. I thought he was. Oh, well, easy come, easy go. You can't miss something you never had to begin with, I guess. Incredible money, but that's what it takes, I guess, to run a successful campaign and become president. It takes a lot of money, doesn't it? Yes, it does. But hey, on the bright side, at least now you know that Elon Musk is not controlling Donald Trump.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Oh, hang on here a second. Let me see. No, that won't be the call we should be taking on the air. Let me just to clarify what Dragon was talking about, the Iran-Contra affair. So I was alive because I'm really old, all right? The Iran-Contra scandal was a significant political scandal in the U.S., happened in the 80s. The scandal occurred during the Reagan administration. It involved two main operations: the sale of arms to Iran and the illegal funding of Contra rebels in Nicaragua. The U.S. secretly facilitated the sale of arms to Iran, which was embroiled in the Iran-Iraq war at that time. This is before, don't get confused. This is not the U.S. invasion of Iraq, okay? This is different. This is the Iran-Iraq war. Too many wars. The official rationale was to secure the release of American hostages held by who else? Hezbollah, militants in Lebanon, who were influenced by who else? Iran. The proceeds from those arms sales were then diverted to fund the Contras, a rebel group that was fighting the Sandinista government in Nicaragua. What a tangled web they wove. Congress had prohibited further aid to the Contra rebels through something called the Boland Amendment. The operations were exposed at one point by a Lebanese magazine. And then investigations that ruled out after that revealed the extent of the operations and the involvement of high-ranking officials. And then some of the officials were convicted of charges related to the scandal, but many of the convictions later overturned or pardoned because of presidential powers. And that scandal tarnished the Reagan administration. I'm a big Reagan fan, but what they did was wrong. It was an end run around the system, but it also showed the power of the presidency. Donald Trump, it plays into everything he's been talking about with regard to presidential immunity. And because now that has been acknowledged as being something that is a privilege for a president acting in an official capacity, the Iran-Contra scandal maybe today wouldn't have even been a scandal, because the president, through immunity, you might argue that the president could just do something like that. But that's another ball of wax and open for further discussion and debate. So multiple investigations ended up being conducted, including an investigation by Congress, and there was independent counsel. Can't remember the name. The investigations, though, uncovered a lot of details about operations, and that led to multiple indictments. And then Colonel Oliver North ended up testifying as part of these investigations. That was really famous. That's what really stuck in my mind, his involvement in all of that. But, you know, he was a patriot trying to do the right thing, but got caught up in this political end of basically laundering aid to go to a foreign country in order to facilitate the release of hostages. You can fault Reagan for it if you want to, but you know, that was such a tangled web, and the circumstances surrounding that were so different. What we saw there, not related to these protests and things we're seeing, a totally different scenario. We could talk more about the Iran-Contra scandal in another program, but I just wanted to just clarify what that was really about. It's not really quite in a similar vein to what we're talking about here tonight with these protests and the flag coming down. Where did I want to go after this? Oh, yes. We just heard from Trump, right? Talking about the electric vehicles. Well, there is a massive trade war that is just beginning. And at the very center of all that, electric vehicles. Don't go away. I've got a report all queued up and ready to rock and roll, talking about tariffs and what, you know, the Biden administration, what Kamala Harris, how she's going to approach the economy, and how Trump views the use of tariffs, especially where they're related to electric vehicles. All this coming up on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
It appears we are at the beginning of what will be, or as what is shaping up to be, a massive global trade war, and it's all centered around electric vehicles. Chinese EV manufacturers, intensely competitive. In fact, in China, which is now the world's largest automotive market, BYD, which is backed up by investment from Warren Buffett, has overtaken Tesla as the top EV manufacturer and seller in China itself. But this is a global issue, and these Chinese-based auto manufacturers, companies like BYD, actually have factories outside of China as well. What you're looking at right here is a BYD factory in Thailand. Take a look inside this BYD factory. You'll see a lot of robots, not too many human beings. This is auto manufacturing today and how it will look into the future. It looks like the plans for the electrification of the auto industry not going quite as our politicians had hoped. As a result, President Joe Biden has announced a sweeping 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles. So this move, part of a broader strategy to safeguard American manufacturers from low-cost imports, is poised to escalate trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. In an official statement, the White House revealed the implementation of stricter measures on Chinese goods valued at $18 billion. This follows a comprehensive 4-year review aimed at preventing an influx of subsidized Chinese products from disrupting the U.S. market and impeding the growth of the American green technology sector. Of course, Donald Trump has addressed this many times in his speeches, most recently at the Republican National Convention.
And I will end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. Thereby saving the U.S. auto industry from complete obliteration, which is happening right now, and saving U.S. customers thousands and thousands of dollars per car. And right now, as we speak, large factories just started, are being built across the border in Mexico. So with all the other things happening on our border, and they're being built by China to make cars and to sell them into our country, no tax, no anything. The United Auto Workers ought to be ashamed for allowing this to happen. And the leader of the United Auto Workers should be fired immediately, and every single auto worker, union and non-union, should be voting for Donald Trump, because we're going to bring back car manufacturing, and we're going to bring it back fast. They're building some of the largest auto plants anywhere in the world. Think of it, in the world. We're going to bring it back. We're going to make them. We don't mind that happening, but those plants are going to be built in the United States, and our people are going to man those plants.
The new tariffs include a significant increase on electric vehicles from 25% to, as I just said, 100%. A rise in levies on lithium batteries from 7.5% to 25%. Critical minerals from 0 to 25%. And solar cells and semiconductors from 25% to 50%. Additionally, tariffs on steel, aluminum, and personal protective equipment will be elevated to 25%. China has responded through its state media, criticizing the U.S. for, in their words, undermining fair trade and environmental protection, and warning the American consumers that they will ultimately bear the cost of these tariffs. Despite potential retaliatory measures from Beijing, Biden defends the tariff increases as a necessary and proportionate response to China's overcapacity in the EV sector. Sources indicate that China produces 30 million electric vehicles annually, but only sells 22 to 23 million domestically. So those criticizing China's approach to the electrification of the auto industry say this is creating an intentional surplus. It's intentional overproduction. It seems the Chinese are focused on supplying the entire world with EVs. Even Canada now is finding inspiration for tariffs in Biden's policy and has now entered into a consultation period, after which it looks like the Canadian government may also invoke the use of tariffs to protect Canadian workers in the auto industry.
Canadian auto workers and the auto sector, however, are facing unfair competition from China's intentional, state-directed policy of overcapacity that is undermining Canada's EV sector's ability to compete in domestic and global markets. Chinese producers are quite intentionally generating a global oversupply that undermines EV producers around the world, including here in Canada. That is why we are here today. Our government is taking clear, strong, decisive action to protect Canadian workers, to level the playing field, to prevent oversupply, and to prevent transshipment through Canada.
Since taking office, Biden has introduced several initiatives, including the Inflation Reduction and the CHIPS Act, aimed at strengthening U.S. industries in high-tech sectors and key battleground states ahead of the 2024 election. Now it looks like the tariff torch will be carried forward by Kamala Harris, who recently did a national tour talking about the economy, and yet strangely, during this national tour focused on the economy, she rarely ever mentioned the auto industry or EVs, instead focusing on the social aspects of economic development.
We are putting over $1 trillion, by my calculation, on the streets of America over the next 10 years to invest in a clean energy economy, adaptation and resilience to extreme climate occurrences, federal contracts. What we are doing with the CHIPS and Science Act, we are investing in semiconductor manufacturing here in the United States because we know, and we learned if we didn't know before during the pandemic, this supply chain thing can really mess you up. And we need domestic production and manufacturing of some of these essential needs. So in the last 3 years, our accomplishments around growing the economy of America in a broad-based economic policy means putting trillions of federal dollars into the economy, which will require for it to be meaningful, folks to take up those contracts to do the work that is about building up our nation. So that's part of why I'm here, is to ask everyone here, help me get out the word of what we are doing, and that the Small Business Administration, as an example, and we have representatives here, we have the Deputy Secretary of Commerce here, the Deputy Secretary of Treasury here, help get the word out about what is available, because too often, like I said, Black folks are 3 times less likely to apply for these things. But we got to let people know that it's there so that they will apply and take advantage of what we are doing, including we have finally gotten rid of the prohibition on people with a criminal record being able to apply for SBA loans. We just got rid of that.
Now, many mainstream media outlets seem to be portraying Biden as taking a different approach to dealing with competition from electric vehicle manufacturers, yet the reality is what he's really done here is he has taken a page out of Donald Trump's platform.
You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore.
In reality, Chinese automakers now account for more than half of the electric vehicles produced in the world. And as they build scale, cost advantages, and expertise, speculation is rising that Chinese EV brands are going to flood the global market.
And right now, as we speak, large factories just started are being built across the border in Mexico. So with all the other things happening on our border, and they're being built by China to make cars and to sell them into our country, no tax, no anything. The United Auto Workers ought to be ashamed for allowing this to happen. And the leader of the United Auto Workers should be fired immediately. And every single auto worker, union and non-union, should be voting for Donald Trump, because we're going to bring back car manufacturing, and we're going to bring it back fast. They're building some of the largest auto plants anywhere in the world. Think of it, in the world. We're going to bring it back. We're going to make them. We don't mind that happening, but those plants are going to be built in the United States, and our people are going to man those plants. And if they don't agree with us, we'll put a tariff of approximately 100 to 200% on each car, and they will be unsellable in the United States.
Now, these tariffs in North America will begin to take effect even within the next couple of months. And this is really just, I think, the first battle or skirmish on this front. In Europe, governments over there are also looking at implementing tariffs to cushion the blow from this massive production of electric vehicles that is beginning to come from China. And these vehicles are high quality, they are much lower cost, and it signals a real challenge, not just to the auto industry, but the entire economic system in the West.
This very simple formula will create massive numbers of jobs. We will take over the auto industry again, and many, many hundreds of thousands of jobs. We lost so many jobs over the years. If you go back 20, 25 years, they've stolen, going to China and Mexico, about 68% of our auto industry manufacturing jobs. We're going to get them all back. We're going to get them all back, every one of them.
Alternatives to tariffs in the future could include forcing China to produce vehicles not just in China, but also in North America or in European countries. But we'll have to see how this all plays out over the long term.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so Stoic teacher got it right. She got a little help from a friend, but Stoic teacher figured out what our feature presentation will be tomorrow night on Maverick Midnight Matinee. I said it's going to be a movie from the 1970s. I said it is a movie that was nominated for an Academy Award, and it was. It was nominated for Best Documentary. The movie is Chariots of the Gods. And I chose that movie because I was thinking about all the conspiracy theories that are out there. And Chariots of the Gods was a movie that was produced over in Europe, I think Denmark, if I'm not mistaken, originally. Then it was dubbed into English and was released in theaters, produced in 1970, released in theaters in North America in 1971. And as a kid, I remember being exposed to first the trailer, then the movie, and it made a big impression on me. It's all about ancient astronauts. That's what it's about. It's about the idea that we've had alien visitors here, that aliens are real, and it just fuels all kinds of imaginations, right? Mine included, especially as a youngster. So I was just thinking about it, and with all of the conspiracy theories, some of which have come true to become conspiracy fact in recent years, I was just thinking about where did all this begin? And for me, and I think for a lot of people, it really began with Chariots of the Gods. Not in the same way that it's kind of being done to us now, but it really was, it's an entry point for our society into this environment of conspiracy theory. There are several entry points, I would say, the JFK assassination being one of the main ones, and ideas or conspiracies surrounding environmental things or aliens. That's where this begins, is with aliens. So it's going to be a fun night tomorrow night. We're going to start earlier so that I don't, my brain doesn't go numb like it did last weekend, but it'll be Friday night. Tomorrow night, we'll run Chariots of the Gods at 10 p.m. Eastern. You guys can join in on the conversation at some point. I don't know if I'll have any guests. Maybe one of our regulars will join me, or maybe a couple of them. I don't know. The more the merrier, I guess, tomorrow night as we run Chariots of the Gods. I'll give you some background on the movie. It's because of that, there's been a lot of other material that has been produced over the decades since related to it, and we'll touch on some of that as well. But I have the trailer, the original movie trailer, to share with you tonight to promote tomorrow night's screening of Chariots of the Gods from the 1970s. 1971 made its its theatrical debut in North America. Here it is.
Chariots of the Gods, the international bestseller by Eric von Däniken that shattered conventional theories about history and archaeology. Now Sun International brings it to the screen in a startling new film. Chariots of the Gods explores von Däniken's controversial and explosive theory that beings from other galaxies visited Earth in ancient times. Did a genius from another world design the pyramids? Is there evidence of a prehistoric airfield in the Andes? And what about the giant stone faces that brood over Easter Island? All over the Earth, the evidence is there. For an intriguing, fascinating, mind-opening experience, see Chariots of the Gods, rated G.
Tomorrow night on the Maverick News Channel at 10 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be square. It's going to be a wild ride on a cosmic carpet back to 1971, right here on the Maverick News Channel. So I'll see you all then. Thanks everybody for hanging out tonight. It's been a slice. Catch you at 10. Well, I'll catch you at 7 for the regular Maverick News program tomorrow. Then we'll take a little break, and then we'll have Maverick Midnight Matinee starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, and that'll take us right up to the witching hour. Catch you on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.